North Idaho, it's more than just potatoes and pretty views. It's one of America's hottest relocation spots in the last few years. Where are people moving from and why the dramatic shift? Well, we've got answers and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe below. Tap that bell so you can be notified every time we talk about anything going on here in the North Idaho area. Also, be sure to click below and download our free relocation guide. If you have any thoughts of coming to the North Idaho area, take a look at that relocation guide. It will answer a lot of your questions. In this video, we are going to talk a little bit about where people are coming from. What's going on up here? What's with the trend? Where people come from? Where are they maybe going to? And what towns are seeing the biggest effects here in the North Idaho area? So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the population growth here in the Idaho area. Idaho's population grew from 1.84 million to over 2 million between 2020 and 2024. We saw a lot of people come this way. An impressive 8.8% increase in just the 4 years. Despite significant growth, Idaho remains one of the least densely populated states, with about 23.5 people per square mile. 60% of Idaho is public lands, forest parks, mountains, state land, that type of stuff, which limits actual residential areas. But between 2021 and 2022, we did see 56.5% of new residents, that's about just over 49,000 people, come from the three biggest areas of California, Washington, and Oregon. Idaho ranks second for projected population growth through 2032. That's pretty big if we're going to see if we're ranking second for projected population growth up through 2032, so over the next 7 years. Working age population 16 to 65 is estimated to grow by 14% compared to just a 2% nationally, and housing units in Idaho grew by 2.3% between 2022 in 2023. Let's look at a few statistics. I grabbed some information, so I was curious of where everybody's coming from. What's going on? What's the real numbers of where people are coming from? And so what I did was I pulled information from the DMV. I thought that was a pretty good indicator of where people are moving from. And it also kind of gives us a little bit of an indicator where people are moving to, because there are people moving out of Idaho. Now, this isn't just for the North Idaho area. This is for all of Idaho, but this will give us a pretty good indication. Okay, let's look at a few of these statistics. Like I said, I grabbed some of this information from the DMV. This is the driver's license migration for 2024. And as we look through at some of these totals, here's where all the people are coming from that have exchanged their driver's license. So our big ones here is probably the biggest from California, 14,976. We also have a lot of people coming in from the Washington area at 10,023. And then the next one was Oregon, a little smaller, at 4,867. Then we see some of these others that are coming in from, just over 2,000 coming in from Nevada. Oh, okay, perfect. From Montana, 1,596, so just under 1,600. Let's see, who else have we got? 1,370 coming in from Florida. This one comes from Colorado, just under 2,100. And then 2,814 coming in from Arizona. So those are our biggest, but over the course of 2024, we had a total of 59,321 licenses exchanged. Now, for my locals that really get upset about what's happening here in Idaho getting overrun, not to say that's not a lot, but let's also take a look at where people were going out. So we also had a lot of people leave. And so if we look at some of these areas here, back to California, we had 1,086. Let's see, that one's 1933 right there. We had 1,933 head to Arizona. Can't blame, people getting tired of the winters here and decide to get out and get into some warmer. So that probably is a lot of those snowbirds that are moving down that direction. We've also seen a lot here into the Washington area, another 5,766. 3,300 right there went back to Oregon. So we do see some different migration. There was 31,038 that did exchange their licenses going back out. So almost half, just barely over half of what came in also moved out. So now, I don't know if they're the same people who came for a few months and decided this wasn't for them. Most likely a lot of it is moving for jobs, moving for family, deciding to move to a different climate, some of those types of things, getting out of the cold and the snow. But so some of those things, we will see some differences. Now, we had, what I said, 59,321 came in 2023. There was 52,000, 2022, 58,000. So we had much bigger. And closer into the height of COVID here, we had 64,000 in 21. And then in 20, we had 60,000, almost 61,000. And then in 2019, we didn't have, it's back down into that 54,000. And, that was just before things were ramping up. And then 45,000 back in 2018. So we did see, here we also had 28,000 that left in that time period in 2000. 43,000 moved out during 2019. So that's a pretty huge number. We had 38,000 moved out in 20. In 21, we had a total of 57,000 that moved out. So almost as many that came in. We also had a migration moving out during that COVID period. So I don't know if people just came up for a little while, or people were moving to get home or for jobs or whatever that might have been. So if we look at some of these statistics, they're not always, here in 2022, 59,000 came in. We had 54,700 that left. Here last year, we talked about that 59,321, 31,038. So just barely over half went out. So, but I think what we're seeing though is this migration of people that are coming in, and we're getting more coming in that are going out. And so I think people are coming for a lot of reasons, and it's interesting to look at some of that DMV information and see kind of what's going on here in Idaho based on a lot of the recent population data and migration trends. Several towns in North Idaho are and have been very popular destinations for people relocating. Let's talk about some of these places where people are going. Now, one of the most notable that everybody knows about up here is, of course, Coeur d'Alene here in the Kootenai County. It is the largest city in the North Idaho area. Coeur d'Alene kind of remains that major hub and popular destination. And it's obviously known for the beautiful lake, outdoor recreation, opportunities for additional outdoor activities such as hiking, boating, skiing, and it's has a lot of growing amenities, as it continues to grow with the restaurants and retirement areas and all these things that keep attracting people to this area. While its growth rate has fluctuated, it does consistently attract new residents seeking the natural beauty and, the vibrant community that is up here. It was ranked the number one city in Idaho for inflow in 2022. However, it's the popularity has led to rising housing costs, which may be an indicator of why we're seeing some people leaving Idaho, and we've done some videos on that, of why people are leaving North Idaho, and the rising housing costs and cost of living has been a big part of that. But Coeur d'Alene has certainly seen some big increase there with what's going on with the rising housing costs and some of that cost of living, being a destination place. Thinking about relocating to the North Idaho area? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research. And I've linked it down below. From top employers, the best hospitals, and a whole lot more information of things that you need to know before making the move. The best part is this guide is 100% free. That's right, it's 100% free. Just click the link in the description below or the top pinned comment. Hope this helps. Some of the other areas that we are seeing that people are coming to, Post Falls is another big one, which is just west of Coeur d'Alene, also in Kootenai County. And it's a little closer to the Spokane area, so it does draw those people that want to work in Spokane and have someplace close to drive to, come back across the border. Land is cheaper over there, so that's probably why we've seen some significant growth, adding over 6,200 residents just between 2020 and 2023. Just over 16% increase. And it's, cited as having a lot more available land for expansion compared to Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene's kind of getting to the point where it's either bumped up against Dalton Gardens, Hayden, Coeur d'Alene, or going south, to the reservation and some of those, and so, or the mountains. And so some of that Coeur d'Alene's going to be a little bit limited. Maybe that's why we're seeing like some of these higher rise condos, because it's now going up instead of going out. But Post Falls still has a lot of areas for growth out there on the plains, on the prairie there, farmland that we are consistently seeing getting turned into subdivision, while still offering a lot of access to regional amenities, but giving a little more affordable housing options. The other thing we're seeing is in those areas where we're seeing a lot of people coming to is the Rathdrum area. That's also in Kootenai County, and that is just north of that Post Falls area. This city has shown one of the highest percentage of growth rates in Kootenai County since increasing by over 6% since 2020 and over 25% between 2020 and 2023. It is a smaller town, so it has that small town living feel, and being still close to the Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene area offers those amenities and access to a lot of those areas, but kind of gives people that little bit quieter town feel. Pend Oreille is another small town that is seeing a lot of growth. That's there in Bonner County. It sits just north of the Sandpoint area, and it has experienced some very explosive growth, with some reports citing as much as 51%. I don't know how true that is. I've seen others that are saying at least 10%. So either way, in between those two numbers, between 2020 and 2023, we did see a lot of growth in that area, with its location right there close to Lake Pend Oreille. And it is kind of that gateway to one of the best skiers here in the area, Schweitzer Mountain, the ski resort up there. One of the other areas that is also seeing a lot of growth is that Sandpoint town that we were just talking about next to Pend Oreille. It's also in the Bonner County. It is kind of more of an eclectic town, known for its art scenes, proximity right there on the Lake Pend Oreille. Again, close to Schweitzer Mountain Resort. And Sandpoint does continue to grow steadily at an over 4% to its population since 2020. Now, we have seen some of that with the growth, with the rising medium home prices that we've talked about in some of our other videos, where Sandpoint has seen some of the the larger growth, their medium house point is 700,000. And don't let that completely scare you, because there are properties that you can still buy under that 400,000. But, having a medium of that 700,000 tells you there's still a lot of growth, a lot of expensive homes coming into that area. So another area that has seen a lot of growth because people love it, and the land's a little more expensive there, and it's a little more expensive for housing, is the Hayden area right there in Kootenai County. It's just north of the Coeur d'Alene area, and it's situated right there next to Hayden Lake. And a lot of people, this is kind of noted over there for the quality of life, recreation opportunities, which has really contributed to that steady growth. People that, want that North Idaho feel, that Coeur d'Alene feel, but don't want to be right there in the tourist area. A lot of them have moved to that Hayden area where you're building your homes in and around all those pine trees. Like I said, it's got that North Idaho feel with the beautiful lake. It's no wonder people love that. A lot of these towns that we're seeing a lot of growth in have, with some notable percentage increases, include Dover, which is just west of the Sandpoint area there on the Ponderay River right there coming out of the lake. Boy Springs there in Bonner County. It's just up past Bonner's Ferry. Bonner's Ferry's another one that's seen a lot of growth. Priest River, also there in Bonner County, has seen a lot of growth. Spirit Lake, which sits right there in Kootenai County, but next to the Bonner County. And Athol, which is another big one that we've seen a lot of growth in. And then St. Mary's is starting to see a lot of growth down in that area in Benewah County, which is just south of the Coeur d'Alene area. So some of these smaller towns are really starting to see some of that growth. But, for those that are looking to come to the area, and some of that draw has been because of, there's less population, less traffic, less some of that, a little more privacy. A lot of these areas also offer homes with bigger acreages. If you're looking for 5, 10, 20 acres and want that kind of privacy, a lot of those areas offer opportunities for that at probably a lower cost than what you're going to find right in the Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene areas. But we are seeing significant price increases in a lot of those. But, let me know if you've got questions on some of those, or some of those areas, or you're looking for property, or, you have certain dreams about certain areas to fit your lifestyle. Let's talk about that, because we could certainly help guide you to some of those areas. And again, I said, please feel free to download my free relocation guide. It's in the comments just below, easy to find, and that might help you out with what you're looking for, get you some great information. Some of the key drivers we've seen here for relocation to this area has obviously been the outdoor lifestyle, which is huge, with the lakes, Coeur d'Alene Lake, Ponderay Lake, Priest Lake, Hayden Lake, Twin Lakes. I mean, we can go on and on. There are a lot of lakes up here. We've got skiing and hiking. We've got 4 ski areas all within an hour's drive, and a couple others that are a little bit further than that. But if you love to ski, there's a lot of great skiing close by, a lot of great hiking. Boating is huge up here. Hunting, fishing, all those types of things, biking. If you love the outdoors, this just offers all of that and more. The quality of life here, many people are moving to and seeking this perceived slower pace, the strong sense of community, lower crime rates compared to a lot of the bigger metro areas. And of course, the scenic beauty here. Cost of living historically, while still relatively more affordable than a lot of the major West Coast cities. And, we've talked about that in some of the other videos compared to like Seattle or California, a lot of those cities there. It's still far more affordable than that, but we are seeing that cost of living, especially as people continue to move here and whatnot. We have seen a rise in our cost of living, but especially with the housing, it's raised significantly in the most popular areas that we were just talking about. There are still areas where housing is not as high as some of those. And, if you have questions on that, happy to talk to you about some of those areas and get you some ideas of what some of those areas might be. A lot of diversifying economics here and opportunities for remote work have also kind of contributed to some of the influx. While Idaho's overall population rate has slowed slightly from the peak years of COVID, that 20 and 21, North Idaho counties like Kootenai and Bonner County have continued to outpace a lot of the state average, indicating that there is a sustained interest in this North Idaho area for those that are relocating. Couple things keep in mind: the longer you wait, the higher prices are most likely gonna climb. I mean, it's supply and demand. Supply is limited right now, but demand has remained strong. We have not seen a big drop in housing prices. We did see a little bit of a dip when inflation went up, but a lot of that's come back. And in fact, over the course of last year, we did see a rise in the housing prices and values. So we continue to see some growth here and values keeping strong. So, like I said, if you got questions, my team and I, we are never too busy to talk to you. Give us a call, shoot us a text, download our relocation guide. Let us know how we can be of help, because we would like to make your move to North Idaho a smooth transition. We'll see you on the next video.